If you hear someone calling for help in the woods, don't answer. Before we begin, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, would you go into the forest or run? The scream didn't sound human. It was too stretched, too broken, like something trying to remember how to sound alive. Ethan froze first. Did you hear that? The four of them stood at the edge of Black Hollow Forest, a place locals in Oregon avoided even during daylight. The road behind them was empty. No cars, no lights, just a long stretch of asphalt swallowed by trees. Marcus laughed nervously. Probably an animal. Then it came again. Help. This time it was clearer. A girl. Liam swallowed. That's not an animal. Sophie stepped closer to the trees, her phone flashlight shaking. Someone's out there. Ethan grabbed her arm. No, we're not doing this. People go missing here. But the voice came again, louder, desperate, cracking with pain. Please help me. Something about it made Ethan's stomach twist. It wasn't just fear. It was wrong. Marcus exhaled sharply. We can't just leave someone. And just like that, the decision was made. They stepped into the forest. The temperature dropped instantly. The air felt thick, heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. Their flashlights barely cut through the darkness. Trees stood too close together, branches tangled like skeletal fingers. Stay close, Ethan whispered. Leaves crunched under their feet, but sometimes it sounded like something else was walking too. Behind them, matching their pace. Hello, Sophie called out. We're here. A weak sob echoed ahead. I'm here. They followed the sound deeper. Too deep. The path behind them disappeared. Then they saw her. A girl sitting on the ground, her back against a tree. Blonde hair covered her face. Her leg was twisted unnaturally. Oh my God, Sophie rushed forward. Are you okay? The girl slowly lifted her head. Her eyes looked normal. Too normal. I fell, she whispered. I can't walk. Ethan hesitated. Something inside him screamed run. Where did you come from? He asked. The girl blinked slowly. I don't remember. Marcus knelt beside her. We'll help you out. The girl smiled. For a split second, her mouth stretched too wide. Then it snapped back. Ethan's heart skipped. Did you see that? He whispered. No, Liam said. See what? They lifted her. Her body felt light. Too light. Like she wasn't fully there. As they started walking back, the forest changed. The trees looked taller. The shadows deeper. And the path was gone. Wait, Marcus stopped. This isn't the way we came. It is, Sophie insisted. No, Ethan said quietly. It's not. The girl suddenly tightened her grip on Marcus. Don't leave me, she whispered. Her voice was different now. Lower, colder. And then, from somewhere behind them, another voice called out. Help me. They all froze. Slowly, they turned. Deep in the darkness, another figure stood. Same blonde hair. Same broken leg. Same face. The girl in Marcus's arms began to laugh. Soft at first, then louder, then wrong. Very wrong. And Ethan realized something that made his blood run cold. They hadn't found her. She had found them. The laughter didn't stop. It echoed through the trees, bouncing in directions that didn't make sense. Marcus dropped the girl instantly. She hit the ground, but didn't react, didn't scream, didn't even blink. Instead, her head twisted slowly, unnaturally, until she was staring at them upside down, smiling. Too wide, too still. Run, Ethan shouted, but it was already too late. The second girl, the one standing in the distance, took a step forward. Crack. Her leg snapped back into place, like it had never been broken. Then another step, and another. Each movement jerky, puppet-like. What the hell is that? Liam screamed. Sophie grabbed Ethan's arm. They're not real. Those aren't people. Behind them. Crack. They turned. The girl on the ground was standing now. Her body bent at the wrong angles. Her arms too long. Her fingers brushing the dirt like claws. Both of them smiled. In perfect sync. You came, they said together. Same voice. Same tone. The forest went silent. No wind. No insects. Nothing. Then the trees began to whisper. Soft at first. Then louder. Hundreds of voices. All saying the same thing. Stay. Liam broke first. He ran. Straight into the darkness. Liam, wait. Marcus shouted. But he was already gone. The two girls stopped moving. Their heads slowly turned, following Liam's direction. Then, they moved. Not running. Not walking. Gliding. Ethan grabbed Sophie. We go the other way now. They ran. Branches tore at their clothes. Roots tried to trip them. And behind them, that sound. Not footsteps. Something dragging. Something fast. Marcus stumbled beside them. Where's the road? No idea. Ethan gasped. Just keep moving. Then Sophie screamed. They stopped. She was staring ahead. Frozen. There, between the trees, stood Liam. Guys, he whispered. Relief hit Ethan instantly. Liam, thank God. Don't, Sophie whispered. Look at his face. Ethan's breath caught. Liam was smiling, but his eyes were empty. Too empty. I found the way out, Liam said. His voice sounded layered, like multiple people speaking at once. Behind him, something moved. Tall, thin, watching. Marcus shook his head. That's not him. Liam took a step forward. His smile stretched wider. Too wide. Wider than humanly possible. Come with me, he whispered. And then his jaw snapped open, far beyond what it should. Sophie screamed. Marcus grabbed Ethan. We split now. Without thinking, they ran in different directions. Ethan and Sophie to the left. Marcus to the right. Behind them, that laughter returned. Louder. Closer. Hungry. As Ethan ran, he heard Sophie whisper something that chilled him more than anything else. They're not chasing us. He turned slightly, just enough to see. In the distance, dozens of figures stood between the trees. All watching, all smiling, all waiting. They're hurting us. And somewhere deep in the forest, that original voice whispered again. Help me. But now Ethan understood. It wasn't a cry for help. It was bait. The forest wasn't normal anymore. Ethan realized it the moment he stopped running. The trees had shifted. Not like wind. Not like time. Like they had repositioned themselves to block escape. Sophie bent over, gasping. This isn't a forest. Ethan looked around slowly. The space between trees was gone. Paths that existed seconds ago were sealed with darkness. Even the moonlight above seemed weaker, like something was covering the sky from the inside. We're trapped. Marcus's voice came through the trees. Distant. Panicked. Marcus, Ethan shouted. No answer. Only whispers. Stay. Don't leave. We are hungry. Sophie grabbed Ethan's sleeve tightly. That girl, she wasn't human. None of them are. Ethan nodded slowly, his throat dry. It's one thing, pretending to be a person. But there were two of her. Sophie's face went pale. What if there are more? A branch snapped behind them. They both turned. Nothing. Then, a girl stood between two trees. Same blonde hair. Same broken smile. But now, her neck was slightly longer than before. You ran the wrong way, she said softly. Ethan stepped back. What are you? The girl tilted her head until it almost touched her shoulder. I'm lost, she whispered. Help me find myself. Her body flickered, just for a moment, like bad signal. And behind her, for half a second, something else appeared. A tall shape. No face. Just watching. Sophie whispered, don't look at it too long. Ethan understood immediately. He looked away. And that was the mistake. The forest responded. A sudden silence dropped like a weight. Then, hundreds of voices whispered at once. Look at us. The trees moved. Not swaying. Walking. Slowly bending toward them. Roots lifted from the ground like fingers reaching upward. The path behind them sealed completely. No escape. No direction. Only deeper. Marcus's scream echoed once. Then stopped. Ethan grabbed Sophie's hand. We go forward. Whatever this is, it wants us separated. Sophie shook her head. Forward is where she is. I know. They moved. Each step felt heavier, like the ground was remembering them. Then they saw Marcus, standing alone in a clearing, perfectly still. Sophie, Ethan, he said calmly. Too calmly. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. Marcus, she ran forward. Ethan grabbed her instantly. Wait. Marcus smiled, but his shadow didn't. His shadow was still screaming. You shouldn't have followed her, Marcus said softly. His head tilted slightly. Wrong angle. Wrong bones. Sophie whispered, that's not him. Marcus took a step closer, and his body lagged behind him by half a second, like something was wearing him incorrectly. Then his mouth opened, not to speak, but too far, far beyond human limits. And from inside, the same girl's voice came out. We are already inside. Ethan pulled Sophie back. Run. The clearing collapsed into movement. Trees leaned inward, blocking light, blocking sound, blocking everything. And as they ran, Ethan heard something behind him that froze his blood. Sophie, whispering something he never said. I think I'm starting to see her too, he turned. Sophie's eyes were slightly unfocused, and just behind her reflection in her pupils, the girl was smiling. Ethan slapped Sophie's arm. Don't listen to it. Sophie blinked hard. I'm fine. I'm fine. But her voice didn't match her face. It was slightly delayed, like something else was learning how to control it. The forest opened into another clearing. Too perfect. Too quiet. In the center stood a small wooden structure. A shack. Old. Rotting. But untouched by time. Sophie whispered, we go inside. We need shelter. Ethan shook his head. Nothing here is shelter. But Marcus's voice echoed again from nowhere. Inside is safe. The shack door creaked open by itself. Inside was darkness. Thick. Breathing. And a single chair. In the middle. Facing them. Sophie stepped closer against Ethan's warning. The moment she did, the door slammed shut behind them. Silence. Then soft laughter. From inside the walls. Why did you come? A voice asked. Not from one place. From everywhere. Ethan turned slowly. The wooden walls were moving. Like skin stretching. Like something underneath was waking up. Sophie whispered, we just want to leave. A pause. Then the chair turned slightly. Without touching it. On it sat the girl. The original one. But now her body looked unfinished. Like a costume halfway built. Her smile was calm. Patient. I was lonely, she said. Ethan stepped back. You lured people here. The girl tilted her head. I didn't lure them. She smiled wider. They came when I called for help. Sophie shook. Why? The girl's eyes darkened. Because I don't like being alone inside them. The walls suddenly bulged outward, as if something massive pressed against them from the other side. Ethan realized it too late. Marcus's voice, Liam's voice, the forest voices. They weren't outside anymore. They were everywhere. Sophie whispered, Ethan, I think it's in me. The girl stood up slowly, and as she walked closer, her body began to split into faint duplicates. Not copies. Reflections. Every lost traveler. Every voice. All inside her. You are all connected now, she said softly. Because I shared myself. Ethan grabbed Sophie's hand. We break out. Now. But the walls began to close in. Slowly. Breathing. Alive. And Sophie whispered something that wasn't her voice anymore. Help me. Ethan froze. Because it came from both of them. At the same time. The girl smiled. Good, she said. Now you understand. And the shack went dark. Completely. As if something had finally closed its eyes. The darkness inside the shack wasn't empty. It was crowded. Ethan couldn't see anything, but he could feel presence pressing against his skin, breathing without lungs, thinking without minds. Sophie's hand was still in his, but it felt colder every second. Sophie, Ethan whispered. No answer. Only soft breathing that didn't match his own. Then the whisper came again, but this time it wasn't from the walls. It was from inside his head. Ethan. He froze. The voice sounded like Sophie, but wrong. Softer. Older. Like it had been practicing his name for a long time. A faint light flickered. The shack was gone. They were no longer inside wood. They were standing in the forest again. But everything was arranged differently. Too perfect. Like a stage. And in front of them stood the girl. Not multiple versions. Just one. Finally complete. But now her face wasn't smiling. It was waiting. You broke, she said gently. That's good. Ethan stepped back. Where are the others? The girl tilted her head. They're closer now. The trees around them began to whisper louder than before. Not random voices anymore. Names. Real names. Marcus. Liam. Sophie. And then, Ethan. Ethan covered his ears. Stop. The forest responded instantly. Silence. Then, one voice spoke directly behind him. I'm here. He turned. Marcus stood there. Perfect. Still. Smiling. But his eyes were empty like holes cut into him. Then Liam appeared beside him. Then dozens more silhouettes. All wrong. All slightly misaligned. All wearing human shapes like borrowed clothes. Sophie tightened her grip on Ethan. But her hand didn't squeeze back. Ethan looked down. Sophie's fingers were fading. Like smoke being erased. Don't trust them, Ethan whispered. Sophie nodded, too slowly. The girl stepped forward. I don't kill you, she said softly. I just make you part of the forest. The ground beneath Ethan shifted. Roots rose like veins. Reaching, learning, searching. Marcus took a step forward. Then another. His body split slightly at the joints, like he was not fully solid anymore. I feel better here, he said. Liam laughed softly. I don't want to leave. Sophie whispered, Ethan, I think I'm forgetting how to be me. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. No, stay with me. But her eyes were already unfocusing. Behind them, another version of her smiled faintly. Inside the trees, the girl raised her hand, and the forest responded like a living organism. All voices merged into one sentence. Stay with us. Sophie let go, just slightly, not physically, but mentally, and Ethan saw it instantly. Her face softened, like something inside her had accepted the forest's voice as familiar. No, Ethan whispered. No, no, and no. The girl stepped closer. You can leave, she said to Ethan, but only if you forget them. Ethan shook his head. I won't. The girl smiled. That's why you'll stay. The forest opened behind him. A path. Clear. Safe. Perfect escape. But Sophie stood at the edge of it, watching him. And she whispered, If you go, I won't remember you. Ethan froze. Because she wasn't threatening him. She was begging. The forest whispered again. But this time it felt like a decision being made for him. Stay or lose her. And Ethan realized the final truth. The forest didn't trap bodies. It trapped attachment. The girl's voice softened. Choose. Ethan took one step toward the path. Sophie's eyes filled with something human again. Hope. Then he stopped. Because behind Sophie, Marcus smiled wider than possible and whispered, Don't leave us alone. And the forest learned Ethan's name completely. Ethan turned away from the path. Slowly, like something inside him had already decided before he did. Sophie exhaled softly. Relief. Or maybe acceptance. It was hard to tell anymore. The forest didn't react immediately. It waited, like it wanted to be sure. Then the ground softened beneath Ethan's feet, not swallowing him, welcoming him. The girl stepped closer. Good, she said gently. Now you won't be lonely. Ethan whispered, What happens now? The girl smiled. You stop being one. The forest moved, not violently, like water filling empty space. Marcus stepped forward first, then Liam, then Sophie, all of them slowly surrounding Ethan. Not threatening, not attacking, just returning. Sophie touched his face. Her hand was warm again. For a moment, I forgot I was scared, she whispered. Ethan closed his eyes. That was the worst part. So had he. The girl raised her hand, and Ethan felt it. Something inside him loosening, like his thoughts were no longer fully his. He tried to hold on, to memory, to identity, to anything real. But the forest spoke inside him now, and it spoke softly, kindly, like a promise. You don't have to leave. Ethan's knees weakened, not from fear, from surrender, and then silence. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he was standing in the forest, but alone. He looked around. Sophie, no answer. Marcus, nothing. Liam, only wind. Then he smiled, slowly, naturally, like he had always been here. A voice behind him whispered, New ones are coming. Ethan turned. A faint road appeared at the edge of the forest, and far away, shadows of new people walking closer. He tilted his head slightly, listening, waiting, and when the first scream echoed through the trees again, Ethan stepped forward, not to help, not to warn, but to welcome, because now, he finally understood the forest. It doesn't kill you, it keeps you.